Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. This is Kelsey here today with Belinda Burson. She's the Managing Director at Vantedge Search. Belinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelsey. Happy to be here. It should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So Belinda, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I've been in executive search for 24 years. I live in Houston with my husband and two French bulldogs that are constant entertainment. We're recently empty nesters. Our youngest went to college in August.
Oh, congratulations.
But with my background in architecture and construction science, I tend to, drive my husband crazy with the constant projects, around the house. So.
I love it. That honey-do list. Expect honey, H-O-N-E-Y, honeydew.
Yep.
So great. So tell me, how did you find Vantedge Search? How did you get involved here?
So our parent company is VBeyond. They're a very large staffing and contracting RPO organization. They were a partner of mine when I was at Sutherland. Mm-hmm. When I left Sutherland, the two founders reached out and asked me, would I launch an executive search firm again? And so I'd done that once previously. Okay. And so I said, sure, that sounds like fun. So that's what happened. We launched in January of last year.
Very nice. So tell me a little bit more about what Vantedge Search does.
So we have kind of two general types of clients. There are professional services clients, which are the majority of ours. So everything from strategy, technology and operations consulting to IT services to BPO. Mm-hmm. And then we have what I would call the industry clients, the corporate clients. Okay. But the searches that they bring to us are typically in our recommendation best filled by somebody that's previously or current professional services. So we do director and above only. Mm-hmm. And we actually often are working on SVPs of business development. Mm-hmm. Or especially in professional services, the tech talent that's creating what they're selling. So anything from cloud migration, analytics, automation, IoT, 5G, all those really niche skills. Mm-hmm. So we kind of create the entire value chain, the people that are creating and delivering the solution, along with those that are charged with selling it. So.
Wow. So it sounds like Vantedge Search really runs the whole gamut then.
Yeah, we generally do. Because if you think about our corporate clients, mm-hmm. if they need if they're going to go through a supply chain transformation, as many have the past 2 years, mm-hmm. Guess where the best bleeding edge talent is? It's in consulting. It's mm-hmm. It's not near a competitor. Yeah. Same thing with any sort of IT transformation from consulting, not from competitors. Mm-hmm. HR, building shared services, any of those sort of corporate functions. Mm-hmm. It's not a must-have professional services kind of job description, mm-hmm. but we tap into that network either to try to headhunt them. Mm-hmm. or to ask them for referrals, maybe to people that are their clients, in the competitive space. Everything we do starts with a competitive landscape map. So we absolutely don't start with a job description and keywords and that sort of thing. We first map competitors before we begin any search.
Yeah, talk to me more about that.
So, the two questions I generally ask prospective clients are either one, who do you want to take market share from? Or two, who do you want to outperform? Okay. And their answer is what is the beginning of that competitive landscape map. Yeah. And then we can identify, the obvious competitors, but we also kind of dig and find, especially the last, few years, there's a lot of Series C, Series D types out there that are relatively unknown, but are really, a true competitor. Like if you think about that, the Gartner Magic Quadrant and the challengers, for example, so we map all of that out and start there.
Yeah. So after the competitive kind of landscape map, what happens after that?
Headhunting. We do not post jobs.
Okay.
I think we've posted maybe 2 jobs in the past 22 months since we've been doing this.
Wow.
So we headhunt. So that competitive landscape map then becomes drilled down to the talent within it that fits what we're looking for. And then we have a team. So we have a research and insights team.
Okay.
And then we have a team of, I guess they're titled recruiters, but in my mind, there's a difference. Recruiters post and pray often.
Yeah.
This is headhunting, cold calling, etc.
Yeah. So besides this competitive landscape mapping that you do really to kick off the relationship and really identify those pain points, what are some other ways that Vantedge Search stands out from its competition?
I would say if you were to ask our clients or our candidates, we are exceptionally transparent and truthful and authentic. We've never tried to sell, a candidate to a client or, over hype up their capabilities.
Yeah.
And we also do not do the same with candidates. We give a very honest, transparent view of our client, how this role is going to have an impact, a lot of times at the executive level, you're talking about a soft skill difference, not something on a resume. So I'd say from both sides, they would comment on that kind of transparency and authenticity. When they hire through us, they get exactly what they thought they were getting.
Yeah, that transparency is so important, both within your company, but also with the people that you're headhunting or bringing in to be on these companies' team. So that's so important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a rare find in executive search.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It sounds like you truly have the company's best interests in mind, and you want to make sure that retention is there, so that way when you hire someone, they stay, right?
Yep, and we track retention.
Oh, do you?
We not just track placements. We track retention.
Talk to me more about that.
Well, in the 22 months that we've been around, we have not had to replace a single person.
Wow.
And only this month did we have the first person actually leave the company we placed them in.
Wow.
And it was to do in something entirely different.
Oh, really?
Still this whole great resignation, great reshuffle continues to be a real thing.
Yeah, but it sounds like you haven't really seen that within Vantedge Search.
No, I mean, most of the candidates that we've placed, most of the executives, well, all except one over the last 22 months are exactly where we put them.
Wow. And you attribute that to the authenticity, kind of the great work starting with that competitive landscape, I imagine.
Well, and just, spending the time to really understand the politics, the culture, the other things that go into somebody being, happy in what they do. I'd say one of our real niche, in addition to these really hard to fill roles, but when they're newly created roles, it's a lot more advisory from us than it is the search part, because they come up with a job description. It often reads like a unicorn. And so, through candidates and through our weekly connects, we help them kind of refine it and really envision what it is they want this person to be able to. We often, ask, okay, so 12 months from now, what's going to be on this person's scorecard? How are they going to be measured? And most clients haven't, they put together a job description, but they don't put together the scorecard until after somebody's hired. So we try to flip that so that we're solving for the scorecard from the very beginning.
Yeah. So there's very clear expectations and definitions so that when the company says, oh, we're looking for X, you're like, well, you actually may be looking for, X, Y, Z as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, it sounds like Vantage Search has really grown, through the course of its time. You've been there, you've started other firms to be able to see it grow. Talk to me a little bit how you've been able to grow with Vantage Search and Vantage Search on it as its own.
So we started with a team of 12.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 34 now. And I have another new joiner joining next week. So I think the key to our success has been we have various what we refer to as team leaders in the organization, and they manage certain client relationships. So, for example, somebody is responsible for Cognizant.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody different is responsible for Capgemini. Somebody different for Fidelity Digital Assets,
Mm-hmm.
Genuine Auto Parts, you name it. So we align the clients with the culture and the behavior of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we have those teams kind of live and breathe just as if they were employees of that organization.
Okay.
And so that deep domain expertise, not just of an industry vertical or a functional area, but now this organization and what it takes to be successful in that organization. I think that's why the volume of searches keep going up with each of our clients. They haven't gone down at all.
Right.
And then we probably take on 2 to 3 entirely new clients a month.
Wow.
We have several that are pre-IPO that are private equity held.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of come out of, nowhere. Didn't know that entity existed or didn't know about this new strategy or whatever. So we work quite a bit with that group, which is nice because, it balances the big guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you talked about having referrals, and then having just some new customers kind of come through the pipeline. What are different ways that you use to build that brand awareness for Vantage Search?
I'd say the number one is relationship based. You're doing a great job when a candidate you never place. So let's say you have some SVP of innovation and transformation candidate for a search, that person doesn't get the job, but he or she gets a different job. And then because of their experience with us, they then retain us on their needs. So I think that relationship piece and the candidate experience piece drives a lot in our favor. And we do have an inside sales team. We have a marketing agency. We've got a whole machine that puts out content regularly as well.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So what would be one thing you would want our listeners to know either about Vantage Search or about the industry that you're in?
Well, I think that, from a client perspective, I think they, over the past 2 to 3 years, it's been really disruptive. So I think that and I was a global head of talent acquisition. So there comes a point in time where you might need to rethink who your partners are and maybe try out something new, just to, if anything, get a different approach, different ideas, different perspective. From the candidates side, I'm advising senior people that LinkedIn is becoming quite crowded, and that what we see working in terms of networking today is for those guys to follow companies and the executives in those companies on Twitter instead, because you can leave a thoughtful comment on Twitter, and that usually gets read, as opposed to leave a thoughtful comment on LinkedIn where hundreds of other people do. So we advise on that. More junior people, kind of director to VP, they're doing click to apply.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend certain tools to, be able to score high enough with the AI, because if you click to apply to anything, you're going first to AI that's going to score you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't score a certain level, then no human ever sees you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the pieces of advice I've been, sharing, I don't know, probably all of 2022.
Yeah.
With both sides of that.
Yeah, interesting. That's really insightful. I hadn't necessarily considered, I mean, I know LinkedIn is getting crowded. I hadn't really necessarily considered, utilizing Twitter more so in that form. I think that's fantastic insight.
Yeah, you're not going to post, hey, I'm looking for a job.
Right.
But, if you're a chief revenue officer and a CEO posts something about their growth strategy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you have a thoughtful comment about the strategy,
Mm-hmm.
just so that you're noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get lost in all of the congratulations or great, like,
Yeah.
it's the platform that, isn't necessarily like so congratulatory, but still is like thoughtful and insightful.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. That's great. Well, Belinda, is there anything you would want our listeners to know, kind of in conclusion, talking about Vantedge Search and your journey, other than that insight, anything else?
I guess it seems like we kind of are a generalist firm, but we're really not. So with this focus on professional services at our core, and the decades of experience amongst our team that have worked in this space, you have to keep in mind that they are organized by vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at, actually kind of matrix. So if you think about like an Accenture is going to have a natural resources practice.
Yep.
They're going to have a healthcare practice. They're going to have a banking and financial services. They're going to have insurance. They're going to have retail, etc. And then they'll have these horizontals: strategy, operations, technology, that go across. So we get the benefit of getting to work in almost every horizontal and every vertical by the nature of the work that we do with them.
Yeah.
And so it looks like we're generalists because we cover so many industries and functions, but in fact, we're just, we just have so many of those little intersections of knowledge,
right,
and experience that's what really brings a lot of value.
Right.
I know most boutique firms are much narrower, but Braxton Cooper was built, my previous firm, on the exact same thing. It was, at the core, strategy consulting, and then clients such as Disney and Baxter Bioscience and Eastman Chemical and stuff. But what they came for was talent that would often be found as former or current strategy consulting people. So it's really fascinating how much exposure we get to so many industries, even if we only worked with one professional services client.
Yeah. And having expertise in that space as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for Fidelity Digital Assets, that's not tough for us. We work all day long with crypto and wallet architects and those types. And we also work in banking and financial services. Genuine auto parts, going through an IT transformation, cloud migration and stuff. Best and brightest are going to come out of professional services in that space. And so it just keeps going like that. But again, we always start with so much research that we don't just, most of us read a job description one time and then we just go off, on a path, not trying to match bullets. We're not like AI, where we're matching bullets on a resume to bullets on a job description.
Right.
If that's all the client needed, they could do it themselves with AI.
Right. But Vantedge Search adds that level of personalization to make sure you're pairing the cultural fit, the personal fit with these companies that, AI isn't necessarily going to give you.
Correct. Or AI will mistranslate something on a resume.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Belinda, this has been a great conversation. I love the approach of starting with that competitive landscape and moving more into like the finding great and retaining great talent, through that personal approach. I think this has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas.
I appreciate you having me, Kelsey. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Belinda.